It was the most unexpected discovery at this site alongside the A2 Watling Street in Rainham. After previous excavation at the next-door Premier Inn 11 years ago, early Iron Age and Roman remains were anticipated. The county archaeologists flagged the site up as one of interest when Churchill Retirement Living demolished bungalows to prepare for their own building. The 10 graves belonging to the first settlers in Rainham were a complete surprise.
Here in the north of the site we have early Saxon graves. We weren't expecting to find these. All the previous work that we've done in the area has either been early Iron Age or Roman. So when we came across Saxon material we were very excited, especially as we find their graves. Due to the high acidity of the soil around here, the bones have all disappeared. In one of the graves we found teeth because the enamel in the teeth preserves for longer than the bones do, but apart from that all the bones have gone. But what we are left with, as you might be able to see behind me over here, is we have these rectangular east-west aligned cuts in the ground, which are about 6 foot long and a couple of foot wide, aligned east-west, with the heads, we think, especially from when we found the teeth, at the western end of the graves. And within these grave cuts, as we call them, we're finding iron knives, which would have been on belts, and that seems to be pretty standard amongst all of the graves. Within some of the graves we've had a set of keys from one of them. We had the handle to a box from another one, which had been placed at the person's feet. And from 3 of the graves we've had Neolithic arrowheads. Now these graves are about 1,500 years old, but the Neolithic arrowheads are between 4,500 and 6,000 years old. So they found these arrowheads, thought there's some importance to them, and buried them with their dead people.
When they noticed the rectangular shapes in the ground, including one that belonged to a child, the teams realised they had an exciting find that has increased the importance of Rainham as an archaeological site. Their work here has continued longer than they expected because of the graves. The team say archaeology is all about people, and to find graves like this gives them a unique insight into how people here lived 1,500 years ago and how closely connected they were to the French.
These people are the early Saxons, so this is the start of Rainham as we know it, basically, the foundation of the village. We will be doing further research into the artefacts that we've found. What we do know is that the people that lived in this area, they were the Franks as opposed to Angles or Saxons. They all tend to be lumped together in one big group. They had very close relationships with the Merovingians in France, so they're emulating their burial practices and things like that. The Franks themselves were quite high status Saxons, I suppose you could call them, and they're quite influential. Their influence went out beyond the boundaries of Kent. There's a lot of trade and things like that as well. But these burial practices that we're seeing are reflections of what is happening in France at the time.
Everything that was still preserved in the graves has now been removed to be examined by specialists, but will be displayed here in future so people can find out more about how the earliest Rainham settlers lived. Sandy Fleming for Rainham News.